Hey everyone, Lapin here, and I am back with another guide, tutorial, hot tips section, this time with Storm, the Mistress of the Elements. Because I've been seeing her played, not wrong, just, well, wrong. The devs had stated earlier on that while there were different classes like Vanguard, Duelist, Strategist, some characters would most likely bleed into other roles, like they wanted to blend them a bit more. And Storm is a perfect example of that. She's very unique as a duelist in the sense that she is what I like to call an enabler. She tends to think of her kind of like a damaged Lucio in a way. Like she works based off of an aura. She has two forms. She has a wind form and she has a lightning form. As you can see, it's one quick shift and you're switching. We'll talk about the wind form first because it's easier to go through. But the wind form is essentially a movement speed buff for you and everybody around you. Passively, it gives you 16% movement speed, and it gives all of your allies 8% movement speed. When you switch to lightning form, essentially it gives you and everyone around you a damage boost. And in the same way, it gives you a 16% damage boost, and it gives everyone around you an 8% damage boost. Now, when she hits E, she triggers her goddess boost, and depending on what form you're in, it's going to do something different, okay? So, for example, in wind form, when she hits her E, she's going to get 40% instead of 16, and her team is going to get 20% instead of 8. Not only that, anyone within the vicinity, when she triggers it, any opponent is going to get debuffed 15% movement speed, so they're going to be slower. On the flip side, when you're in the damage boost form and you hit E, not only is your damage boost going to go up to 30%, not only are your allies going to go from 8 to 12%, but you're actually going to trigger multiple hits on anyone within the vicinity. So as you can see, as soon as I hit E, it's going to hit them for 35 damage, and it's going to continue to hit them for automatic 35 damage, I think 3 times on top of that. So look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, her other ability, she has a right click. It's basically like a one-shot hit scan. Storm also has 12 rounds of wind blades. And these wind blades are very special because they pierce. They go through everybody. One of the biggest misconceptions I've seen about Storm is that people want to play her like Iron Man. And that's usually like the biggest red flag I've seen from these new Storm players. They play her up here. They're flying around. They're doing what they want. But one thing to notice is that when you're up here, notice the number. Notice down here, when I'm surrounded by people, you can see the number of allies in the blue number and the number of enemies with the red number. When you're high up here, there's nothing. So if you think about it, you're not damage boosting anybody. You're not movement boosting anybody. You are completely selfish and you are not utilizing half of her kit. That is the first thing that I've noticed that people do wrong about Storm. While you are a flying character, think about staying mid to low to the ground. As you can see, the lower you are to the ground, the bigger your aura becomes. So that's tip number 1, mid to low to the ground. This kind of, to me, marks Storm as a very much an anti-dive option, because not only can she slow down the dive characters, she can also instantly hit them. So she can, Black Panther comes in, she's hitting him for automatic if he's coming in to the area, and damage boost, and she's damage boosting everyone around her, including the strategist. Tip number 2, utilize cover. Know where your cover is. Don't just be out there in the open. She can be kind of like she can be quite the target for hit scans, Hawkeyes, characters like that. So know when you need to even just like use what you can as cover. Because of her ability to go in any direction, she can utilize anything she wants to. You know, she never has to be just a sitting duck out in the open. Tip number 3 with Storm, wind form. I don't see enough people using it. I have a lot of people who come up and say, Storm's too slow. She doesn't move. She's the slowest character in the game. She's actually not. And I would argue that most people who say that stay in lightning form. Because, like, yes, in lightning form, she's very slow. Learn to switch when necessary. If use lightning boost get your damage in, and relocate. Think about her omnidirectional capabilities and think about wind form. If you want to move, get off of lightning form. As simple as that. Let's talk about her ultimate, shall we? So basically, Storm's ultimate is Omega Hurricane. What it does is she will disappear from the map. You have 5 seconds to decide where you want to land, and she drops down in a giant hurricane. I believe she does 75 per hit, and she hits 2 times per second. Okay, so what is that math? 150 per second. So she basically does 150 per second, and she can travel and move. And so she goes up. You can figure out where you want to go. You can confirm, and you drop, and you move around, and you're back. So now one thing to note is that in the buff, with her buff of season 1, they did change it so she does get more overhealth in the ultimate, as well as it decays as opposed to disappears. Because a lot of the time Storm will get stuck in the enemy lines, and if you flop your ultimate, you would be stuck there with 250 health and with no way to get out. Her ultimate is very strong, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, her ultimate is one of the best in the games, hands down. It is incredibly strong, it clears an area, but it does have a lot of drawbacks and counters, so we're going to talk about that right now. Now, one thing to note about Storm's ult is that she can also counter a lot of the ultimates as well. So for example, a lot of support ultimates will counter Storm. Invisible Woman's, Luna Snow's, Mantis will, to a certain degree. Cloak and Dagger definitely will. A lot of these supportive defensive ults will, 1, outlast Storm's ultimate, and 2, out-heal the damage that she's doing. So it makes it completely useless. So, because Storm's Hurricane has a 5-second attack time, and a lot of Luna Snow is 12 seconds. Mantis, Cloak and Dagger, I believe they're both 8 seconds. Invisible Woman, I believe, is 8 seconds as well. So my tip for her ultimate, time it properly. There is a reason why you get time to position. You know, you can find the best spot if you want, but it's also a great bait tool to bait out ultimates, or time it so that when the ultimates are triggered, you know when they're going to end and when you can go in. Now, obviously, if there's no Luna Snow on the board, or if she's already triggered her ultimate, have fun, clear the board, do what you want with the ultimate, but just keep in mind and know, and keep note whether or not the ultimates have been used, or whether or not you think they will be coming up really soon to be able to counter what you're about to do. Just pay attention to that sort of aspect, because Storm has, like I said, one of the strongest ultimates in the game, but it's also one of the easiest counters in the game. And that's coming from a strategist player, let me tell you. I play Invisible Woman, I play Cloak and Dagger, and I've never had a hard time against the Storm, because they never pay attention to whether I have my ultimate or not, or what these characters can do. So pay attention so that you can either bait it out or work around it. Another tip with Storm, pay attention to who's in your aura. Make sure to get the most value. Goddess Boost has a 15-second cooldown, which in fights, in Marvel Rivals, that's a lot of time. So what I would suggest with Goddess Boost, try to get the most bang for your buck. What I tend to see with a lot of Storm players is that they will be all the way back here. They'll hit E for strictly the damage buff, and that's it. When what you should know is that you already have a passive damage boost, and while the damage boost is good, you have to remember that you have a 15-second cooldown. So if you're using it in a situation where it doesn't get great value, you've lost it for 15 seconds. And a lot of time, that's all it takes for someone to take out an entire team. So like, for example, make sure you've got people in your vicinity to be able to use the added bonuses of Goddess Boost. It's as simple as that. But yeah, I hope these tips were helpful. I've been playing Storm since Alpha, and I have absolutely adored her since her launch. And I'm glad people are picking her up. So have fun out there, and good luck in your games. I'll be back soon with another character. Bye.